G'day, Ben from Melbourne here, and today we're going to attempt part two of some of my favourite Australian music from the 1980s. So let's get into it. First up, we're going to start with Ed Cooper's debut solo album, Electrical Storm, on Hot Records. This one was a little bit of a surprise for people expecting Ed to continue on with the punk stylings of the Saints, and also concurrently with his solo albums, he was releasing stuff with the Laughing Clowns, which were much more experimental and that jazz punk kind of thing. But this is, surprisingly quite a pop-oriented album, but, not pop like top 40 pop. Ed's, of course, far too idiosyncratic for that, but there's a lot of hooks on this record. Ed played pretty much everything on this except for the piano and the drums. Great debut record. Can't say much more than that. Ed Cooper, Electrical Storm. Next up, one of the great ones, the Triffids, Born Sandy Devotional. Led by David McComb. This is like a wide open, cinematic sounding record, as big sounding as Western Australia itself. A lot of lofty ideas, but it's all held together because there's a lot of meat in these songs as well. Obviously feeling homesick while recording this in London. You can just hear that they were still firmly entrenched in the Western Australian lifestyle and the stark isolated geography of the capital city, Perth, over there, which I believe is one of the most isolated cities in the entire world. David McComb probably should be better remembered today as one of Australia's great songwriters. Sadly lost him too young in the early 90s, but he left a great mark with a lot of brilliant albums, and this being the best of the bunch, Born Sandy Devotional, the Triffids. Righto. Now, Crime and the City Solution, Room of Lights. Now, this was Simon Bonney's vehicle mainly, but unfortunately for him, Roland S. Howard completely steals the show with his distinctive guitar playing throughout. Obviously one of my favourites. I think he's one of the greatest and most underrated and underappreciated guitarists of all time. One of the earliest things I saw of Crime in the City Solution was in the Wim Wenders film Wings of Desire, which also featured Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. It's just in a when the main character goes into a bar and the band's playing in the background, and Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds are pretty impressive. But then to me, when Roland steps out on the stage with that cigarette dangling from his mouth, plays the intro to Six Bells Chime, it's all over. Amazing stuff. Room of Lights, Crime in the City Solution. Okay, speaking of the big cavester, Your Funeral, My Trial. Probably my favourite Nick Cave album. It's hard to pick one, because even at this early stage, it was such a rich catalogue. This is a four-piece version of the Bad Seeds. You got Nick himself, Mick Harvey, Blixa Bargeld, and Barry Adamson. This features some of his best songs of his entire career, like Sad Waters, Stranger Than Kindness, the title track Your Funeral, My Trial, and Hard On For Love. Great stuff. He was at his creative peak in the 80s for me. Nick Cave. Next up, something quite different, but also kind of connected. Venom P. Stinger. Meet My Friend Venom. Okay, this band features the members of the Dirty Three, Mick Turner and Jim White. They were uncompromising and uncommercial. I guess you'd call them an avant-garde punk band. Not for the faint-hearted, but you can definitely hear Jim White's drumming, which he became more famous for playing in the Dirty Three, but although a lot more aggressive in this, and also same deal with Mick Turner's guitar playing. Very distinctive style. You can hear the Dirty Three in there, but with a stack of distortion pedals on the guitar, sounding huge. This is a great punk rock record with some really great playing on it. Venom P Stinger. Surprise, surprise. More Roland S. Howard with These Immortal Souls and the album Get Lost, Don't Lie. It's no coincidence that the Birthday Party, Crime in the City Solution, and also These Immortal Souls feature in some of my favourites, as Roland S. Howard to me is one of the all-time Australian great musicians and great songwriters. He's just got that amazing guitar tone. He's not a million notes a minute guy. It's just attitude, incredible control of feedback, and his own individual rhythmic sensibility. This band also features his brother, Harry Howard, on bass, who these days is knocking around with Dave Graney and Claire Moore, with his band Harry Howard and the NDE, which are worth your while as well. Great stuff. But getting back to Roland, this is like a very beautiful dark album. Not gothic at all. Roland's too smart and cool for that. He's just one of several branches of former Birthday Party members and Bad Seeds members who deserve a lot of recognition in their own right. These Immortal Souls. Next, we have another great one, Died Pretty with Free Dirt. Now, if you're more familiar with the single Sweetheart and the Doughboy Hollow era of Died Pretty, this might come as a little shock to the system. As those albums are, more pop-oriented and a bit more polished, this is a really muscular, powerful-sounding record. Driven by dueling organ and guitar and Ron Pino's impassioned vocals over the top. It's a lot closer to the Australian punk of its time, more in attitude than actual sound. But this is a brilliant record, Died Pretty, and they're worth chasing down any of their records in their catalogue, whether you like this kind of thing, which is a bit more muscular, a bit more powerful, or the more pop orientated stuff. Died Pretty is just a great Australian band. Right, next we have God, or as I like to say, God. Who would have thought that a bunch of teenagers could produce such a primal slab of classic Australian rock? Emphasis on the rock part. If you're doubting this, the members of God would go on to form and play in such amazing bands as Hoss, Powder Monkeys, and Bored. This album here is a comp. It contains both the Rock as Hell and For Lovers Only LPs. It also has the A and B sides for the single My Pal. For me, this is the cheapest way to get this music, because I've tried to find original or go-go pressings of the albums For Lovers Only and Rock as Hell, and so far they're out of my price range, and the ones which I can afford are in terrible condition. So for me, this is the way to go with God. All right, more full-on Detroit punk and roll influenced Australian rock with Bored, Negative Waves, absolute classic Australian Geelong hard driving band that pretty much invented that Geelong sound. Led by John Nolan and Dave Thomas, hard blasting guitar freak out unit. They were a force to be reckoned with in the 80s and through the 90s as well. They really put Geelong on the rock map in Australia, and a slew of brilliant bands from Geelong have been coming out of there ever since. Yeah, they've got their own distinctive take on that Detroit sound. Let's not get too caught up in the Detroit thing. It's definitely, the similarities to me are just that hard driving guitars with like the killer rhythm section and just searing solos over the top. Apparently, John Nolan was a great mentor and champion of a lot of young Australian bands. So he was obviously a really great bloke. And yeah, which is kind of hard to believe he was so nice, because you listen to this and you're like, this guy playing guitar sounds like an absolute maniac. It's brilliant stuff. Yeah, it's turn it up to the red and drive real fast music. Okay, speaking of that kind of thing, the Cosmic Psychos, dirty, mean garage punk and roll, probably the most Australian of punk bands in the 80s. Just listen to the lyrics and have a look at that cover. Go the hack and you'll see what I mean. Yeah, this is the album that took them on tour with Mudhoney throughout the States. One of the funny stories, I think it's on the documentary Blokes You Can Trust about Cosmic Psychos, and Mudhoney tell the story of during one of the sound checks they're listening to Cosmic Psychos go through their thing, and the Mudhoney guys requested Cosmic Psychos do one of their funny songs, only to get the response, "What funny songs?" By Psycho's lead warbler Ross Knight. To them, they didn't have funny songs. They were just songs about what they knew, which kind of made them funny anyway, because the delivery's brilliant and almost in that Ramones stupid smart way. Anyway, watch the doco, buy the album, see them live. You either get this shit or you don't. Cosmic Psychos, legends, still rocking to this day. That's the main ones I'm going to talk about in depth, but I want to do some special mentions because there's just so much stuff I love from then. Of course, the second Radio Birdman album, Living Eyes, didn't come out until 82, and yeah, pretty much trying to get this record out, even though it was recorded in the late 70s, ended up breaking the band, but still fantastic record. Hunters and Collectors, when they were more of a crazy art funk experimental thing. Yeah, this is probably my favorite record of theirs. It features probably one of their greatest songs, Talking to a Stranger. Goes for like 8 minutes or something, but it never seems too long. Fantastic. Of course, everyone's favorite, the Hoodoo Gurus debut album, Stone Age Romeos. This is a killer record. Like, it's got on it I Want You Back, My Girl, I can't even say it. Liana, Tojo. Yeah, just great stuff. This is early version with James Baker on drums. Yeah, who seemed to be on every band's first album back then. And for something completely friggin' mental, Thug. Tex Perkins, believe it or not, is responsible for this insane record. There's no way to explain this. Most people will hate it, but it's just so weird. I love it. Getting back on track with more song-orientated stuff is the Sunny Boys debut record. Just fantastic stuff. Like, these guys had top 40 songs, but it was just really well written, driving stuff. Just, not poppy, still, these guys sounded serious, or, but they were still scoring top 40 hits with, just great catchy songs. More madness from Tex Perkins with the Butcher Shop. This is a compilation that combines both their EPs. Butcher Shop also, of course, featured Stu Spasm of Lubricated Goat and the legendary Spencer P. Jones. So if you like them, this is going to be right up your alley as well. Next one is Feed Time. This is the box set. This features, I think, all of their albums. The self-titled one, Shovel, which is probably my favourite, Cooper 5, and Suction. If you don't know these guys, check them out. They're very much in line with that great Australian hard rock punk sound. Great stuff. Of course, Huxley Creepers. A lot of people love the Huxley Creepers. Some people think they weren't punking hard enough, but I think they were right on the edge because they had lots of hooks within that sound as well. They're a great band, Huxley Creepers. Probably a little bit underrated within the garage rock world, but this is a really good album. 12 Days to Paris. And we spoke of him earlier, of course. Lubricated Goat plays the devil's music. What an album cover. And if you think that's not scary enough, you get to see Stu Spasm here in the raw, if you know what I mean. This is crazy as well, but just so much good fun. Tongue firmly in cheek, rockin' noise rock. Awesome. Of course, they'd release a lot of great records in the 80's. The Go-Betweens, Spring Hill Fair, with opening track Bachelor Kisses, one of my favourite songs of theirs. You really, this album and the previous one is where you really hear Grant McClellan starting to come into his own after Robert Forster being the dominating force up until that point. Brilliant stuff. They go on to make a heap great more records as well. And last, of course, we can't talk about the 80's without talking about the Suburban Sour Mash. Yeah, this would have to be my favourite. Hard Work Driver Man, Hard for You, The Hate Inside, These Are the Good Old Days, Pig, Driver Man. Just brilliant, dirty, swampy, garagey stuff. Like, fantastic band. The Suburban. I love everything they do and all their different incarnations. There's always something on there. Classic record. And just to finish off, just really quickly, a couple of CD compilations. Do the Pop, which is probably about that hard driving guitar sound. Starts off with the Saints and Radio Birdman and ends with the New Christ, so and everything that comes in between that. So if that's your thing, this is a great compilation. You can probably still get this on Discogs. This was the next Do the Pop Redux Part 1, but there was never ever a Part 2, and this is more of the same of that stuff, but they've dug a little bit deeper and found some more obscure bands and more obscure cuts of already well-known bands from that scene. And then the last two compilations called Tales from the Australian Underground. So this is more like, I guess, have I got that up? Oh no, I thought I had it upside down. More of the arty end of the scene, but it's still punk influenced and post-punk stuff. Sydney at the time was meant to be the rockin' scene and Melbourne was meant to be the more arty scene, but I love it all. And this is the second CD of the Tales of the Underground. Great stuff. Should be able to still find these pretty easily secondhand, I'd say. CDs don't seem to be as hard to find as records, unfortunately. Anyway, that went even longer than the last one, I thought. Maybe, don't know, feels longer. But thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you real soon, hopefully. Bye-bye.